All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the world. May Allah grant us the acceptance to elevate spiritually. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, فَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Do remind, as the reminder benefit those who are believers. Due to this, I stand here before you, my dear Muslim brothers and sisters, to say some few words, especially now that the month of Ramadan is just around the corner. As we know, when it is Ramadan, we used to multiply our act of worship. And part of the act of worship that we do or we perform in the month of Ramadan, there are some supererogatory prayers, that is nawafil. We do nawafil in the night. After nawafil, we do pits. We feed the needy. But I will put more emphasis on feeding the needy, because the committee of this masjid requests that we should gather some amount of money in order to use that money for feeding the fasting people. It comes in one of the hadiths of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying that if you feed the fasting person, Allah will give you the same reward as that fasting person without having to reduce anything from his rewards. And if you are very wise and smart enough, you will just make use of this opportunity. Even if you cannot do fasting, you can just have your money. When it is time for sunset, when it is break, then you just give a single date to the fasting, and Allah will give you the same reward without having suffering. As it was recorded in one hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Ni'mal mal salih limar'i salih." Very good with the wealth, but to the person who is a righteous. If you have a wealth, that wealth is not something to be abominated or to be prohibited, in as much as you are going to spend that money in the cause of Allah. Let me just give you example of one Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ who used to spend his money in the cause of Allah. Abdullah bin Umar, as one of his students narrated, he said he can spend 30,000 dinars in just one sitting. When we sat down with his students and he had 30,000 dinars, you can spend it at that very moment in the spot. And he said that there was a time when Abdullah bin Umar was brought with 20,000 dinars, and he spent out that money in the spot, to the extent that he had to use the money from his pocket. He distributed all the money. And after that, some seekers come looking for the money, and he didn't have a single kobo with him. And he had to lend money from others and give them in a spot. So we should emulate this kind of people who just spend out of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. And apart from Abdullah bin Umar, there is Abdullah bin Mubarak. We used to hear about Abdullah bin Mubarak. Before saying anything about Abdullah bin Mubarak, let me say something about his father Mubarak. His father Mubarak, he was one time interested to take care of one garden. It was a garden that was given under his custody. And the owner of the garden came and asked him to please bring him some grapes. He will just eat. So when he took some grapes to the owner of the garden and he forwarded it to him, the person ate the grape and he said, "This one is not tasty. Please give me the right one. This one is not right. Give me the right one." And Mubarak brought the grape to the person. And when he ate the grape again, He said, this one is not right. Give me the right one, the good. Don't you know the delicious one? Mubarak said, I have never tasted the grape since the time I was given the custody of this garden. Even once, he didn't taste it. So that Mubarak, he was the one who gave birth to Abdullah. Abdullah bin Mubarak. Abdullah, the son of Mubarak. And Abdullah Mubarak, he was a wealthy man. He was a wealthy man. And he used to spend his money as if he doesn't like it. But when he come to spend the money, he gives his money to the ulama. Even though he gives it to others, but he gives his money more to the ulama. And his reason for that is that the ulama who just to sacrifice their life to give knowledge or to impart knowledge to the people, then they didn't have time to go and look for the money in the market. In view of this, he just to give them the money. Whatever they need, he would just to give them. To return them at home without going to the market. Because when they go to the market, then the knowledge they impart, it will no longer continue to be existing. That Abdullah bin Mubarak, whenever it is pilgrimage, all the people of his town, he goes pilgrimage with, he will take their responsibility, and in a very wise way. He will just ask them to give him all their provisions. As Allah said, what is the word for you know, when a person is paying a visit to the house of Allah, he will have some money with him. So he will collect all the money from his companions, meaning the people he will travel together with. He will keep the money aside. And when he keep the money aside, he will continue to take their responsibility. He will be giving them out of his money. When they reach pilgrimage and they finish the act of pilgrimage, and when they took their way back home, he will ask them, what did your family ask you to buy for them? Then they will mention, and he will direct them to go and pick the items their family requested from them, and he will pay the money. After he pay the money, before they went back home, he will request that their houses to be renovated. He will make their houses to be renovated, meaning he will renovate all their house before they go back home. And when they went back home, then he will sew them new clothes, and he will give them out that new clothes. After 3 days, then he will invite them for walima. When they do that walima, after the walima, then he will call them and give them their money back. He will give them their money back. That is what Abdullah ibn Mubarak used to do. فَتَشَبَّهُ إِن لَمْ تَكُونُوا مِثْلَهُ. We should emulate all this kind of righteous acts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 181, if I can remember, Allah says, مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم. Allah says the example of those who give out their wealth in the cause of Allah is just like the seed of grain which grow 7 spikes, 7 ears, and each spike or each ear develops 100 grains in it. And Allah do multiply the reward to whomsoever He wills. Meaning, if you give something, Allah will multiply it up to 700 times. But it is in connection with the strength of your niyyah. Allah consider your niyyah, your intention. If your intention is very good, then Allah can multiply it more than 700 times. That is why, as it was narrated by Abu Huraira, he says, لا تسبوا أصحابي فوالذي نفسي بيده لو أنفق أحدكم مثل أحد ذهبا ما بلغ مد أحدهم ولا نصيفه. In a nutshell, this hadith says, if one of us is to donate something as big as the amount of Uhud, that amount of money that you spend in the cause of Allah will not reach what the Sahab, what the companion of the Prophet spent, if it is a half of mut, that is to say, if a Sahab give half of mut, sadaqah, and you, as ordinary as you are, or as ordinary as we are, we give a dinar as big as the mountain of Uhud, then our rewards will not reach their own, because their intention is by far and far purer than our intention. Therefore, we need to purify our intention. Whatever we are going to do, let's do it for the sake of Allah. We shouldn't do riyah. Don't do it in order to get the recognition of people, or just to bring out 2,000 and give it, so that the people will just be praising you and commending you. Don't do this. If you do this, you have just to waste your money. You don't need to even do it. Just do it to the extent that your left hand may not know what your right hand has pleaded. With these very few words of mine, due to the time factor, I will just to put a pause of سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام.